I don't respect my husband when he's sick. I, 33 female, and my husband, 33 male, are both sick with the flu. We've been together 13 years, so I'm used to taking care of him when he's sick. But he is always kind of a baby about it. There's a lot of moaning and noises, and I think I'm dying. Even though I have the exact same flu, I still manage to do partial work days, prep meals, pick up groceries, take the dogs out, and watch the kids, who are also sick. I can deal with all of that. But I've been sleeping upright on the couch for the last few nights because I cough like crazy when I'm lying down. And just now he was like, "Are you sleeping in bed?" I said I would need to be upright at a level that isn't comfortable for him. We have an adjustable bed. And instead of him offering to sleep on the couch so I could have my turn being in bed, he was like, "Okay," and went upstairs. Not even an offer to swap. I've lost a lot of respect for him these last few days. He's convinced his symptoms are so much worse and seems fixated only on himself. And if I confronted him, he would be like, "Well, I let you sleep in this morning till 9, and I made you a cup of tea, and I put the soup in the microwave yesterday." Like it's just enough that he can technically say he's done things to help out. How do I get over this resentment? I know I should have that conversation with him when I'm better and my throat doesn't feel like sandpaper, but I'm pretty damn angry right now. Especially because I can hear the bed's massage settings on upstairs. It's just adding insult to injury.
I think I'd be mad too. I do. I think my feelings would be hurt. I feel like if those are the feelings that she's having, she needs to be honest. At least for me, if I hold on to things, I feel like I think about them more than they really need to be thought about. And then it makes it worse instead of just having the conversation when I'm feeling the thing. Because maybe if she had asked, "I really need a turn in the bed tonight. The couch stinks." Then he would have gone, "Oh my God, of course." But I do think women tend to handle sickness better than men. In general, our lives are full of opportunities where we don't feel well. And so for us, we can navigate the world a little better in not feeling great space. But I do think you have to say the thing that you need from the other person, even when it's hard. And hopefully you're with somebody whose response is, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was happening. How can I, do the thing that you need?" Instead of, "You're being a baby about this." And then if that's the response, you have a different thing to navigate then after that, maybe a choice to make about something.
Here's my hot take. When you overfunction while you're sick, you train other people to underappreciate you and maybe even to take advantage of you. So at first I'd say if OP continues to do all of the hard chores around the house, and by the way, when I say OP, I mean original poster. If she continues to do that and baby her husband from time to time when they're both sick, he's going to then think it's okay to just let her do it. So she needs to share her feelings with him about the whole situation. In my relationship, I just do most of the driving. I do like to drive. She does all of the cooking. I would say most of the cleaning. It just sort of depends on what's going on. But if I were to one day go to her and go, "Why didn't you offer to drive today?" She'd be like, "What? What do you mean? You drive." Same thing if she said to me, why didn't you offer to cook dinner?" I'm like, wait a minute. So it is about that. And I think when people do get sick, that is when, if there is a dynamic that's set up early, unfortunately that there's a lot of assumptions made about, how it's going to be handled moving forward, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think when you don't feel well and you're not sleeping well, you also are not navigating decisions the way that you would if you weren't sick or you were sleeping well. Like whatever, if you were in your regular headspace, I'm sure that would feel different. I think the other thing for her to remember is that you've also spent the last week battling the flu. Just be mindful of that when you approach the situation, that maybe you're not going to say things the best way. Maybe a journal would be a good option. Write everything down. I'm a big fan of a letter, even if it's to yourself, to be like, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Because I don't always say things the way I mean to the first time I say them. Sometimes I fumble through what I'm trying to say. So writing it down can be helpful. Yeah, it's hard because she clearly likes her husband. She wants to take care of him. But that training that you were talking about, it can be hard to then be like, wait, I actually need something different here. But hopefully you're with someone that response is, oh my gosh, let's figure it out together and reassess what we're doing.
This brings up a deeper question, which you kind of already touched on, which is, do men complain more when they're sick? And if so, why is that? I looked this up because I was really kind of curious. Here are two totally shocking things. At least one of them is. So medically speaking, sickness can hit men harder due to biological factors like testosterone potentially dampening immune responses, leading to more severe viral symptoms, higher hospitalization and death rates, and weaker vaccine reactions compared to women who often have a stronger baseline immune defense. While some perceive it as exaggeration, which is often referred to as the man flu, research suggests hormonal, genetic, and immune system differences mean men actually do experience worse outcomes with illnesses. First of all, I would say, well, don't tell that to OP. Otherwise, her husband will never do anything around the house.
Yeah. I also think, to be totally honest, it might not be about how much he's complaining or what, like, if they have kids that they're managing and what she needs is for him to help, tough. Like, if that's what she needs to be able to say it, and then he needs to be able to help. Being sick stinks, but when you're a parent, you have other priorities. And so maybe that needs to be a little checked and aligned and have it be less about like, my husband's being a baby, and more like, the reason I'm feeling so overwhelmed with this is because I'm not getting the support I need. Not really because he's complaining. It's really because I need help. And so maybe figuring out what the actual root cause of the feeling is, instead of it being like, he's always so annoying when he's sick. Because partners are annoying a lot of times, and we love them anyway. So maybe it's something a little deeper, like, I actually really need you right now, and you're not giving me what I need. And so I'm feeling like you're the most annoying person in the world, and you're complaining about everything. But really, I just need you to like help with dinner and put them to bed.
Listen, that's a very high vibe mindset. I love it. Because when you're seeking a life partner, you got to be sure to find your equal or someone as close to it. Someone who can express their feelings openly and honestly and be willing to pitch in, because ultimately it is a partnership. It's like, when I say high vibe, by the way, I really just mean the concept of being aware and conscious and trying to be the best version of ourselves. It's the language of expansion and joy versus low vibe, which is all about like knee-jerk reactions that are fear-based.
Right.
So I was going to read you something else I think is really funny, because there is a psychological explanation, which is that men often complain more when they're sick due to a combination of psychological conditioning and socialized gender roles. Psychologically, many men are taught to suppress emotional discomfort, making physical illness one of the few acceptable outlets for expressing vulnerability and needing care.
So maybe he just wants you to like make him soup and he can cry because it feels like he can point to something to be like, well, I have the flu. That's why I'm being a baby. When really he just like maybe wanted her to hug him all along.
It's interesting because we do in society, put men in general in a situation where they have to be tough all the time. And so maybe, and especially be the backbone emotionally in many cases. But when they're physically sick, it might be their moment to be like, look, I can't fight this because, it's by myself. I need to just go into my man cave and just, you take care of everything. It's not fair, but it's understandable in a way.
Yeah.
So here's a couple of comments that I like saw were made. One of them just says, stop powering through, stop doing more. When you're sick, do less. You can't change how he feels. You can only control how you feel and what you do.
Sure. That's fair.
And then one says, once you're both healthy, it's worth addressing your resentment. You might need more boundaries for yourself so you aren't trying to pour from an empty cup and being upset with him for replenishing his. And it's exactly what you said. It's really just communication is key in as much of this as possible, right?
Yeah. And if what she feels like is she does need to fill her cup, that's such a good explanation of that because you have that visual. And if that's what she needs, you have to ask for it, or at least communicate it in a way that's clear instead of, I want you to read my mind. And if you don't, I'm going to test you on this thing that you don't know I'm asking you, which is a hard thing for the other person. I mean, that's crazy. I know we talked about, psychic abilities, but mind readers are not, at least they're not common. So we have to express verbally what we need from people. And then if that need isn't met and you've set a clear boundary and you've set a clear explanation of what you need, then there's a different conversation that happens after that.
The only way that this works is if you find your equal and you are a mind reader and they're a mind reader. Then you never need to talk. It's just,
Exactly.
You read my mind. Yeah. Then we're on to something else, but hey.
We're gonna go.